Nora and Alec set out for a countryside getaway, but soon find themselves veering off into unfamiliar territory. Tension rises in the car as Nora grows increasingly frustrated, realizing they're completely lost. After a while, they come across an old, abandoned diner. Needing a restroom, Nora decides to step out and check around back. There, she stumbles upon the remains of an old, deserted campsite, littered with eerie items like a wallet and a phone. She brushes them off without much thought, completely unaware that a human skull rests nearby in the shadows. As they leave the area, their car unknowingly passes a grim pile of human skeletons hidden in plain sight. Back in the car, Nora casually mentions the creepy campsite to Alec, but he's too preoccupied with the low fuel gauge to care. The road stretches endlessly ahead until they notice a stranded woman by the roadside, her car seemingly broken down. Trying to be helpful, Alec offers to assist with his jumper cables. While he works on the car, the woman strikes up an unsettling conversation with Nora, pointedly asking why Alec hasn't married her yet. Caught off guard, Nora makes it clear it's none of her business. The woman, clearly offended, accuses Nora of being privileged and irresponsible. Nora quickly reminds her that they were only trying to help, but the woman snaps back, claiming she never asked for it. Frustrated, Nora urges Alec to leave, abandoning the woman without fixing her car. As they drive away, Nora vents about the unpleasant encounter, blaming Alec for always trying to play the hero. Alec defends himself, but Nora reaffirms her distaste for venturing into the countryside, precisely to avoid people like that. Later that night, Alec and Nora pull into a small diner, deciding to grab a quick bite. After polishing off their meaty burgers, Alec notices a strange man at the end of the aisle who won't stop staring at them. Alec feels uneasy, but Nora brushes it off, suggesting the guy's probably just curious about out-of-towners. As they're about to leave, the same man suddenly grabs Nora by the arm and, in a low, unsettling voice, warns her that she's not safe in this town. Alec immediately steps in, causing the man to release her. Shaken, the couple quickly exits the diner. Back in the car, Alec checks on Nora, but she plays it cool, saying it was nothing to worry about. A little while later, they stop at a gas station where Alec asks the cashier if there are any hostels nearby. The cashier mentions a cabin just a short drive down the road. As they leave, Alec doesn't notice the cashier's lingering stare following them out. While driving toward the cabin, Nora suggests they check the place out first before deciding to stay. Alec, however, insists on taking a break. Better than risking an accident driving tired in the dead of night. When they arrive, they see several parked cars nearby, which Alec takes as a good sign that others must be around. But inside the cabin, things feel off. Nora immediately gets an uneasy vibe and asks Alec if they can leave. He reassures her, pointing to the used plates on the tables as proof that people have been there. They wander around but can't find anyone to help them check in, so they head upstairs. That's where they meet the landlord, a man with a disfigured face. He apologizes for not hearing them come in and asks where they're from. Alec mentions they drove in from Los Angeles. The landlord then leads them to a cabin a little isolated from the rest. He explains it was once reserved for Boy Scout groups and church gatherings, but since business has slowed down, he converted them into motel rooms. Curious, Alec casually asks how long he's been running the place. The landlord reminisces, saying he first arrived back in 1989, having left everything behind. He stumbled across this spot, fell in love with it, and got a job fixing up the cabins. The original owner, a woman named Mrs. Anderson, passed away 4 years ago, leaving the entire property to him. Tired of the landlord's endless chatter, Nora finally snaps and curtly demands a break. Offended, the landlord storms out, slamming the door behind him. Alec confronts Nora about her harsh attitude, but she retorts that the man's appearance disgusted her. As the couple argues, neither notices the ominous bloodstain on another bed in the room. That night, they settle in and drift into an uneasy sleep, completely unaware of the masked figure hiding under their bed. At dawn, the figure crawls out, a towering man wearing a sheep mask looming over them as they sleep. Later, Nora jolts awake, finding herself trapped inside a cage. She struggles, but before she can do much, a goat-masked man appears, banging on the cage to silence her before leaving again. Seizing the moment, Nora grabs a nearby stone, managing to break the lock. But her escape is cut short when the goat-masked man returns, this time with a cow-masked accomplice. Without a word, they douse her in a strange liquid, rendering her unconscious. When she awakens, Nora's horror deepens. She's tied to a chair in a barn, legs spread, helpless. A rabbit-masked veterinarian enters and without hesitation forcibly inseminates her like livestock as she screams in agony. Ignoring her cries, the vet exits, leaving her physically and mentally shattered. Weakened, Nora can barely resist as two masked men drag her from the barn. She's loaded onto a wagon by the cow-masked man, passing scenes of a horrifying community where masked figures build homes, clean, and butcher humans like cattle. The wagon eventually halts at a stable. Nora is dumped inside and tries to pry open a window, but it's useless. Elsewhere, Alec has suffered a similar fate, confined to a small cage, a muzzle over his mouth. He cries out for help, but the other captive men around him have long surrendered to despair. Suddenly, 3 masked men enter. One captive is secured with a control pole and bludgeoned to death. Another follows. Alec, terrified, rattles his cage in a panic, drawing their attention. They attempt to seize him, and though he fights back, a hammer strike knocks him out cold. The unconscious Alec and others are loaded onto another wagon, destined for the slaughterhouse. In the grim town center, a pig-masked man casually carries a sack of human limbs through the streets. Spotting a car arriving, he waves at the driver before hiding the sack in an office and helping bring a new captive into the stables. Later, the pig-masked man reports to the landlord, the sinister ringleader of the community. The landlord reminds him of an order: enough meat to feed 80 people. Though the pig-masked man stays silent, the landlord reads his body language like a familiar language. Angered by delays, the landlord storms into the kitchen, demanding the food be ready within 2.5 hours. The kitchen crew grinds human meat for lasagna and prepares a stew. Meanwhile, a call comes in. A customer complains their wedding feast was ruined after finding a tooth in their meal. The landlord promises compensation before receiving news that they'll need extra meat. Fast. He orders the use of their dairy livestock, women kept in cages, their bodies attached to suction devices. In a brief, unsettling moment of kindness, Andrew, the gas station cashier, visits the women and attempts to comfort one of them. But when she lashes out at him, he snaps, blaming them for their fate. Elsewhere, the landlord faces a crisis. One of the captive women is found dead, a piece of wood stabbed into her chest, Andrew's name carved on it. Enraged, he commands his men to hunt Andrew down. Meanwhile, Nora converses with the woman in the neighboring stall, a tragic figure held captive for 2 years, impregnated until her body gave out. Accepting her fate, the woman reveals there's no escape from this hell. Hearing another prisoner's cries, Nora meets Ashley, a newer captive. Determined not to give in, Nora promises Ashley they'll find a way out together. Back in the twisted town, Andrew plays with severed human heads before one of the landlord's men catches him. Dragged away, Andrew protests his innocence, but the landlord harshly reprimands him for wasting resources. As punishment, Andrew must help feed the captives. During the task, Andrew clumsily spills a bucket of food and flees, terrified of the repercussions. The pig-masked man chases him through the greenhouse. Desperate, Andrew seeks refuge in the kitchen and hands the landlord some oregano as a peace offering. Grudgingly amused, the landlord thanks him. But the horror continues to simmer beneath the surface. As night falls, the horror escalates. The pig-masked man butchers the woman in the stall next to Nora's, leaving her traumatized. Hours later, Alec miraculously appears, freeing her. They sneak past guards and make for a nearby truck, though it refuses to start. Just as they're discovered, a distant bell distracts the farmhands. The pair find temporary shelter inside a church, but its twisted decor and masked murals only deepen their dread. The cow-masked man enters to pray, giving them a slim chance to escape, but a loose floorboard alerts him. As they flee, Alec steps into a bear trap. Farmhands swiftly arrive and, in a chilling moment, crush his skull with a boulder while Nora watches in horror before running. She hides in the male stables, seeking guidance from another prisoner who points her toward an old bus and its hidden keys. As she slips away, Andrew and the landlord notice but only grin knowingly. Nora tracks down the keys and makes her way to the bus, but on the way, she finds a masked man, bludgeoning him with a hammer before stealing his vehicle. Unfortunately, it soon breaks down, forcing her to continue on foot, relentlessly pursued. In a final bid for freedom, Nora stabs an attacker in the basement of the kitchen, squeezes through a window, and dashes for the bus near the stables. Finding Ashley, she convinces the terrified woman to come with her. They start the bus, hope briefly flickering, until they notice Ashley's terrified silence. Turning around, Nora sees the farmhands quietly seated at the back of the bus, watching them. The final scene shows the masked community gathering for a gruesome feast, with Nora and Ashley prepared as the main course. Apples cruelly stuffed into their mouths,